Well, good Monday morning and welcome back to the Real Monica Adams Show. Thrilled to have you with us as we kick off another week. Hope you had a fabulous weekend. Boy, I did. I hope you saw my reels and stories that I put together. Thanks to every person that played a part in allowing us to sit back, relax, and really get into that chill mode. And then came back last night, just hung in the pool. You're going to want to be poolside this week. We're going to check in with our Beckett Moore in just a second, talking about, and I do mean hot days ahead. Dangerous again, talking about the elderly, our children, anybody with a respiratory illness. Check on them this week for the next several days until we get into, can we believe this? Labor Day weekend is next weekend, and we'll be talking about that. We've got some news you can use. We've got some trending news that you will really love, sports news, and then we get into one of my favorite topics in the last year and a half is something I'm very passionate about, and that is integrative or functional medicine versus traditional medicine, and how more and more traditional doctors are accepting holistic, homeopathic, functional, whatever you want to call it, it's alternative methods of medicine. And our own Dr. Sarah Jensen with Regional Dermatology said that she is pulling that more and more into her own practice. So we'll be talking with not only Dr. Sarah Jensen, but also Kristen Brokaw. She is with the St. Louis International Integrative Medicine, and she is the founder of that. We'll be talking with her a little bit later on this morning as well. All of that coming up. Good morning to each and every one of you. We'll be looking at comments and questions. We've got Hannah Ledford in studio with me. She's making sure that I know if we have any questions or comments from you. Tia Tricama working behind the scenes along with Ashlyn Cross, Kelsey Oglesby, and Zach Kimball. Thank you always to my staff working feverishly behind the scenes to bring the Real Monica Adams Show to you. All right, let's kick things off. One of the top stories, of course, is the weather. What the weather segment.
Alrighty, welcome back into this new more weather forecast video. This one has been looking significant for a couple of days. So
good morning to you.
Good morning, Monica.
Finally.
Nice to be here.
All right, it's that time. Let's check in with our aspiring meteorologist, Beckett Moore. Good morning to you.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm good. Did you have a good weekend?
Yes. How about you?
I had a fantastic one. We spent time in Augusta, Missouri doing so many things. I can't even list them all. Check my reels for that. But it was actually really nice. A little hot riding the bike on the Katy Trail yesterday, but I would not be riding this week in the middle of the day and the early afternoon. I'm sure you would say the same, would you not?
Yeah, no, it's going to be even hotter than it was yesterday. We've been warming up throughout the weekend. We're going to continue to see that today and then into tomorrow, but although we will get a break as we get towards the end of the week. 79 degrees this morning and sunny skies in the St. Louis area, 79 in the morning versus we were at 60 in the morning a couple of days ago last week. So we've really warmed up from last week with those below average temperatures. Now we are above average. 99 as our high today, nearing 100 degrees, mostly sunny skies. So today and tomorrow we're expecting a high of around 100 degrees. Take those proper heat precautions, limit those strenuous activities, stay hydrated, check on the elderly, wear sunscreen, your children, pets as well, because it is going to be very hot out there, and we're actually expecting a heat advisory to go into effect as we head into tomorrow. Now, before we get into the 10-day forecast, I wanted to do a little bit of a slide here on thoughts on fall forecast. Again, Monica, you asked about are we going to have a cooler fall? Are we going to skip through fall and get through winter? Actually, we're expecting to have a more mild fall, meaning we're going to have a good periods of above average temperatures. So not as much average or below average, but more above average temperatures, which actually means it's going to take longer to get to those more cooler temperatures as we head towards November. So that is good news if you like those warmer temperatures. Average precipitation, so not expecting too much precipitation, not expecting too little. And then with milder temperatures, you're going to want to watch for a more active fall storm season. Of course, the warmer it is, usually the more storm energy we're going to have. So we're going to have to watch for some stormy days as we head towards October and maybe into November as well. Now on to the 7-day outlook. 99 degrees Today, again, as your high, sunny skies, very hot. Tomorrow, again, heat advisory goes into effect, 100 degrees. Again, take those proper heat precautions with a low of 79. Then we cool down just a bit, 20% chance of thunderstorms, but otherwise mostly cloudy there. On Wednesday, we warm up to 97 there. On Thursday, mostly sunny skies. Then we start to cool down, and we're expecting to keep those cooler, I guess you could say, temperatures versus this. For at least as we go into next week, below average temperatures are expected here in the medium range. So 90 degrees there on Thursday. That's when we will have a thunderstorm chance. So I'll keep you posted with that. 87 degrees Sunday, and increasing cloud cover as we head into the weekend.
And that weekend is Labor Day weekend. Any big plans for you and your family Labor Day weekend?
I don't think so. Not yet.
All right, well, I'm going to have to call your mom and dad and invite you over. We're going to have a pool party before we close the pool. How's that sound?
That sounds great.
All right, we'll get on that. Beckett, thank you so much, and I hope you have a wonderful day.
Thank you, you too.
All right, that is aspiring meteorologist Beckett Moore entering into his second week of freshman year at DeSmet Jesuit High School. And you saw those temperatures over the next few days, so be careful. Fortunately, the Muni did wrap up. We'll talk about them in just a second. But hot days ahead, that's not the only thing that's heating up. How about winning some money? And I do mean millions upon millions, the Mega Millions. It is now at a $575 million jackpot after no one won a couple of days ago. That is the estimate. It could go higher, of course, with everybody feverishly buying their tickets at the last second. But again, for right now, the next drawing is Tuesday night, an estimated $575 million. Switching gears now, I do have the good news for you first. The highway is no longer shut down in St. Charles County, but early this morning, the 3 a.m. hour, a fatal crash on eastbound 70 right before Mid-Rivers Mall Drive, and up until about 10 after 6 this morning, they only had one lane open. They did reopen the highway, but all of that residual traffic, it took a while. You might still have a little bit of a tap of the brakes as we now get into the heart of the rush hour, so it almost mixed in from the fatal crash into the morning rush. Police were able to open it back up, as I mentioned. However, the big story to this is that this is the fifth pedestrian fatal crash this month alone. And if you can believe this, 4 of those 5 all involving semi-trucks. Folks, slow down, and I don't understand why there's so much activity with people out on the highways. Again, all of these pedestrian fatalities. That's our top story of the day. We switch gears and we want to give you an update on Officer Travis T.J. Brown. You know, if you have been following this story, he was injured and critically injured, has been in the hospital since the second week of August when a protester shoved him violently to the ground. He suffered a critical head injury. The family members, though, are telling us that he is expected to awaken after being in a coma. Doctors are gradually reducing the sedation, and he had pneumonia. Those pneumonia symptoms are subsiding. So again, prayers that he will wake up soon. I just mentioned the Muni, and good thing that it's not continuing into this week with the hot days we have ahead. They just wrapped up last night the 106th season, and they wrapped it up with the show Anything Goes. If you went, drop a comment. Let me know how great it was. That one I missed, unfortunately. If you saw any of the Muni shows this year, let me know what your favorite was. I loved Les Mis, of course. Was a big fan of Dreamgirls. Didn't get a chance to see that one finish because of rain delay after rain delay, and finally, unfortunately, had to cancel it. But some improvements being made for the 107th season. That'll be to concessions, the restrooms. You'll see some other facelifts. I can't wait to see what shows will be coming our way for the 107th season. All right, let's get into some trending news. What would you do when you turn 102 years old? Are you like this woman? She jumped out of an airplane. Manette Bailey, she breaks the skydiving record on her 102nd birthday. I grabbed the video from this, and I am having Ashlyn drop it in the comments so that you can click on it and watch the full video of her getting ready for this. I heard her in an interview say she just had to prepare herself. There was no turning around once she got into the tandem skydive, and she was exhilarated. Her husband gave her a kiss right before she went into the plane. plane. Guess what she did on her 100th birthday? She drove a Ferrari at speeds over 130 miles per hour. I want to be just like Manette when I get to be 100 years old. I love it, woman. I love it. All right, and here's another big trending story. How much do you think Babe Ruth's jersey of the called shot went for? Yes. Just put it in the comments before I give you the number. A New York Yankees jersey that was worn by Babe Ruth during perhaps the most storied moment of the baseball legend's career shattered the record for the most expensive sports collectible sold at an auction. I'm going to let you guess here for just a little bit. Obviously, Babe, one of the best ever to play the sport. But the coolest thing is that he literally pointed out to the outfield and said, "That's where my home run's going to go." It's exactly where it went. An iconic moment in Major League Baseball history. And I'll see if anybody's dropping comments in just yet. Anybody yet? All right. Well, we'll let you do that, and you'll probably kind of catch up, and you'll get to this afterwards. You wouldn't guess this. $24.12 million. I just looked over at Hannah when I said that. There's no way I would have guessed that. I mean, I know it's a big, big deal, but seriously, who has that kind of money? Just throw that kind of money away on a jersey. It's crazy. $24.12 million. All right, and speaking of baseball, the St. Louis Cardinals are actually on a roll. They beat the Minnesota Twins last night. The final score was 3-2. Lars Nootbaar hit a 2-run single with 2 out of the 9th inning. The Cardinals rallied past the Minnesota Twins for that 3-2 win yesterday. So now it's the Padres coming to town. They take on our Redbirds. First pitch is at 6:45. And now you are up to date in what I consider to be news you can use, sports news. Of course, the weather, always important. And now we're going to get into one of my favorite things to talk about, and that is health and fitness and nutrition, everything falling under the umbrella of wellness. And this time we're kind of doing a part 2 series in what has been one of our most popular shows we've ever done, and that is functional versus traditional medicine. Today, we're going to bring in Dr. Sarah Jensen. She is our doctor for our Ask the Doctor segment on Medical Mondays, and today her guest is Kristen Brokaw. Now, Kristen Brokaw is the founder of the St. Louis Institute of Integrative Medicine. The two of them will be in the blue chair when we return.
I'm excited to announce my all-new mattress topper. In the times we're in, I wanted to bring you the best affordable mattress topper ever. So I took my 2 best technologies and combined them to make the ultimate mattress topper. And now you can get it for as low as $69.98. Queen size only $99.98. It all starts with my famous MyPillow foam that provides you that overall full body support. Second is the individual comfort supports that give you an amazing custom sleep experience. It's like it's made specifically for you. The queen size alone has over 14,000 comfort supports. This is the perfect mattress topper to improve any bed. New bed, old bed, your guest beds. Get them for every bedroom in your house. Go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to get the all-new My Mattress Topper for as low as $69.98. Queen size only $99.98. Don't delay, order today.
Discover your full potential with a personalized styling experience. Designing, customizing, and transforming the looks of men and women. Revamp your individual style and embrace what makes you, you. That's real confidence.
And welcome back to the Real Monica Adams Show. I mentioned that one of my favorite things to talk about, as many of you know, I've been involved in the health and wellness field for 26 years now. And one of the things that I have always said was, when I was studying sports medicine and physical therapy, I wanted to be an orthopedic surgeon. I believe that I either would have been one of the very first doctors to do what we're talking about today, or I would have left the field, because I would have wanted people to have an open mind to this. Alternative medicine, holistic, homeopathic, functional, whatever you want to call it, it needs to be in your life, but there has to be a marriage between the two. There is a need for traditional medicine. There is a need for functional medicine. And that's what we're going to discuss today. I look forward to hearing what your comments were. And before we get to that, I saw some of the comments about what you thought that Babe Ruth jersey went for. Some people said in the thousands. Somebody said 5 million. I think, did someone say 30 million, Hannah? Yeah. But you would have never guessed it would have gone for as high as it did. Isn't that crazy? What did I say? 200? Oh, no, sorry, 24. $24.12 million. Okay, let's switch gears now and let's welcome our guest, Dr. Sarah Jensen. You know her, you love her from our Ask the Doctor segments on our Medical Mondays with Regional Dermatology. Welcome back. You look beautiful in your orange.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
And her guest, Kristen Brokaw.
Yes.
Right? So Kristen is actually the founder of SLIM, St. Louis International or Institute of Integrative Medicine,
Yes.
which, by the way, Ashton, if you can do me a favor and grab their page. Are you best followed on Facebook, Instagram?
I would say just our website.
Just your website? Okay, we'll drop in the website for everyone so that you can click on that as well. Welcome.
Thank you.
Glad to have you with us. So let's just start with Dr. Jensen. When did you feel the need? Because you've been in practice for what, 14 plus years,
Maybe
15
20
years?
years.
Oh,
Yeah,
20 years.
20 years,
So
yeah.
14 years in Festus, but
Yes,
before that, her
academics.
first practice in
Right.
Festus, and then she opened in Chesterfield, and we'll give you those locations.
Right.
But 20 years in medicine. Back 20 years ago, this discussion we're going to have today really was something, I'm just going to tell you from the doctors I used to interview, that it was when the microphones would go off, it was the show after the show of, why can't you bring this into your practice? Well, we kind of be the laughing stock of this and that. I'm like, no, you would really be the leader.
Right.
But now it's seen and accepted more often. But take me back 20 years ago. Do you agree with that comment?
I do agree with it. I mean, we were just talking, Kristen and I, in the other room about how in medicine we really don't learn about preventing illness. We treat disease, right? And so we don't learn about dietary issues, nutrition, health, exercise, all those things kind of are by the wayside. We learn about medications and, and procedures. So it just wasn't a part of my training for certain.
Well, and one of the things you and I have talked about is all of you that are watching, your frustration with big pharma, right? And then it's, I go in and I've got this wrong with me. Okay, we'll prescribe this medicine. Well, that didn't work. Well, let's prescribe another medicine. And it's medicine after medicine, sometimes with a laundry list of side effects that starts to scare your patient.
Right. And I mean, I understand it from because I do take insurance. I'm a traditional physician who has kind of an alternative bend. But it's difficult, with the way insurance is run. The visits are very short, 10 minutes you have with a patient, maybe tops. So you really can't have that dialogue that we really need to give patients about what is your nutrition, what is your gut like, what is your bowel movements like. All those things are so important, especially in inflammatory conditions that we see in dermatology.
And we're going to get back into Dr. Jensen of how the functional aspect or integrative aspect of medicine relates to dermatology. But let's talk about what you founded. So again, it's the St. Louis Institute of Integrative Medicine. How long has that been around, Kristen?
I would 17 years.
17 years. Wow. So where 17 years ago did you come up in your mind saying we need this?
I was in a car accident. I didn't have any resources as to what was wrong with me, right? I knew I was fine, and then one day I wasn't. And I was getting the traditional runaround. It didn't help. And I happened to find a provider who asked me, what was I eating? I thought, what does that have to do with anything? Little did I know it has everything to do with everything. And I loved what he did so much. I said, I have to go into that industry. And I've been doing my day job for 18 years, and I'm a sales rep for orthomolecular products.
Yes, and we're going to talk about that as well. So you were in a car accident. What were your symptoms? What was happening with you?
Headache, couldn't think anymore. I mean, just brain fog. I was 30 years old. I was a college athlete, so there's no reason. I never took even an Advil for any reason, and I was in chronic pain, chronically inflamed, couldn't sleep all of a sudden. Just your traditional, I would say almost like a fibromyalgia type person at 30.
Yes, that's a wake-up call. So anybody that was in an accident, my story. And so if those symptoms continue, it's the inflammation within the body that makes it linger?
Yeah, and the perpetuation of a lifestyle as well that I wasn't getting, I wasn't addressing, right? And so to talk about the skin, I mean, you really have to look at the gut. In functional medicine, they say heal your gut to heal your body. And the skin is telling the story of the gut, or the inflammation or the headache is really telling the story of the gut. And it could be whatever.
Don't you both agree? And this is as a patient or as well with many physicians. And this is where you hope that you're finding the right doctor. And if you don't have the right doctor, this is where this particular, when we did this show months ago, the thing that became so powerful and so passionate was you need to be your own advocate, and you have the right to say, okay, you are not doing these things that Monica and Sarah and Kristen are talking about. I'm going to switch doctors until I find one that's going to take care of me. I see it too often that people look at what they think the problem is because they're looking for the aesthetic side of it, right? We're all show me. They are looking for something on the outside when so much of it is actually on the inside, like Kristen just said.
Right.
Gut health. What do you see in dermatology that plays into that? All the things that manifest on the outside that's tied to the gut.
Well, we had that patient who had that celiac disease, right? Every time he ate gluten, he broke out. I have patients who have chronic constipation and then they break out with rosacea or acne. I see it in my own family. So that's really why I sought out this training. I did this certification program in Learn Skin, and it's run by an Integrative Dermatology group. And it's growing. It's kind of this, grassroots effort. And but a lot of allopathic doctors don't really kind of link the two, the medicine that patients are wanting, right? Maybe more alternative, or maybe not just that pill. And I feel like there's a bridge. You have to meet the patients where they're coming from, and I feel like this is much more valued and desired by our patients. So,
and we're looking at the certificate program. How that was a 9-month program that you took.
Right.
So what led you to that? I think a lot of the things that you talk about, Dr. Jensen, is what you see within your own family. I love how you personalize. Well, look, this is happening to me. I want to seek this out more from a personal and a professional basis.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you've met my mother.
I love your mother, by the way.
She seeks out acupuncture. We see an acupuncturist out in Olive, and so in Olivet. And so, when I had a little bit of a heart issue, I went to see my primary doctor, and there, well, we're going to put you on a statin. And I'm like, well, why would a statin? Well, I don't know. I think that might be the next step. And I'm like, well, if you don't know, I want to know more. Yep. So I actually sought out Dr. Twyman, who may come on the show as well. And he's a kind of functional cardiologist that I met through Slim. So I just found that I was kind of seeking out the medicine that I wanted, and I thought, why am I not prescribing this type of medicine as well? And it was kind of post-pandemic. I was kind of looking for more of a change. You always want to grow and learn. And I was feeling a little bit stilted in my profession, just kind of the same day in, day out. And I honestly probably wouldn't take a lot of the medicines that I prescribe. I'd do something else first. I would do phototherapy. I'd get in the sunshine for my psoriasis. I would do all those things before I would just take that shot or pill. So I thought, why don't I learn more about that? And so that's where I went. It was an online course, and we would meet in person twice for just, intensive courses. And I met a lot of the practitioners that I would probably seek out. And then I found it was here in St. Louis all along. I mean, I thought, boy, it's been
right
here
in my
for
own
17
backyard.
years, and I just discovered it. And they meet every quarter for dinner, and they have this like lively discussion. It's fantastic.
There's two really powerful things that Dr. Jensen just said. Let me reintroduce my guest, Dr. Sarah Jensen, again with Regional Dermatology, and Kristen Brokaw with Slim. And we're popping in comments in the moderation for you to click on so you can learn more about these. One of the things that you just mentioned is how important it is for us to constantly educate, because everything is changing so rapidly. And in this fast-paced world that we're in, it's every second that if you're not continuing that, you're so far behind.
Right.
And in yours also, the second part is this is a traditional medicine doctor who is saying, yes, I want to not be blinders on, but see everything around me, right? And I love that. So there's the chill I just got of how important it is to say, let's have this collaboration. And obviously the two of you have great, mad respect for each other. What is the thing that you're most proud of, Kristen, since you started Slim 17 years ago?
Meeting providers like Dr. Jensen. I am humbled by doctors go to school, right? They spend all this money, all this time, and then you get out, and now you have the license to start practicing medicine. But from what I hear, you're not taught anything about lifestyle, you're not taught anything about nutrition, and now you start practicing and you realize that everything you learned isn't going to cut the mustard. Right. So most of them are taking more time, money, time away from their family to educate themselves about how can I actually now get to the root cause or try to get more to the root cause for my patients, which is I applaud you for doing this learned skin. I mean, that's actually what the patients need. And so the doctors are, it's almost this grassroots, let's create an organization where we're going to get to the root.
So other traditional medicine doctors, Kristen, what have you heard from them? Because one of the things that happened in our first part of this series, and I'd like to do this more and more and more, is a true traditional physician. Old school, brilliant, but off mic, off camera, it was, Monica, I don't get it. Why? Show me. It was always show me, show me, show me, show me, right? And then I came back and I said, his comment was, well, I guess if it doesn't hurt and you want to pay the money, that's fine. But you're never going to get it to come out of my mouth that these are the things I'm going to tell you to do. And I said, why not? And I started to press the issue and say, well, do you recommend that someone does their exercise? Yes. Do you recommend that they stretch? Yes. Do you recommend that maybe they go for massage? And he's like, and then we went, of course, I got into acupuncture and chiropractor. That's where he went, so it's this whole thing of why wouldn't you open your mind? Why be so stubborn? Right. I'm going to ask you that question, then I'll ask you what you've heard as well. For all those physicians out there that are so just true to the book of traditional medicine, what would you say to them?
Yeah, I just don't know. I think I find we're most afraid of things that we don't know, right? The unknown, and we don't learn it. So when a patient comes to you and says, I want to know the root cause. Why is this happening? I want to know how to change my diet. Is my acne worsened by my diet? Am I eating something that's wrong? And we don't know because the studies are not there, right? Because who funds most studies, right? Big pharma. You don't get small little grocers saying, let's look to see if dairy has a role or chocolate or red wine. You don't get that. So I think that what we don't know, we're afraid of. And I think you have to meet patients where they're coming from. And I just find it's a nice bridge between the two. These like traditional Chinese medicine, acupuncture has been around centuries, so it's much more ingrained in medicine than our traditional medical schools, right? So I think it just makes sense to me. But I do see doctors kind of shun, when patients talk about essential oils or they're talking about their vitamins or, I think we really have to rethink how we approach medicine as traditional doctors.
Well, I love the fact that all three of us, and I'm sure all of you at home, did the whole thing of, there's the aha moment. That's my doctor. My doctor laughs at me. It's like the laughing stock of it. But why? You just nailed it, Sarah, Dr. Jensen. You just nailed it by saying it's the unknown. If you don't know something, well, research and seek it out. It's constant education. Kristen, what have you heard and what kind of pushback have you gotten from traditional doctors?
Well, the FDA and the RDA, the recommended daily allowance, that was really established to prevent a disease. That's it. So if you look at like what the RDA for vitamin C is, it's just to prevent scurvy. It's not to be optimal, right? Or rickets with vitamin D. It's just that amount is only to be prevent. And that's where they create the threshold. So I think that's something to point out.
Right.
But there are studies. They're just not, how many studies? Do you have the time to research all of the studies that are actually happening, that are double-blind, placebo-controlled, peer-reviewed? They're out there.
Right.
They're just, it's just too much and overwhelming. That's where someone like myself, as a rep for a supplement company, comes in and educates. And then there's also different types of supplements. So we're saying supplements like, oh, I have a car. Well, do you have a 1972 Pinto or do you have a 2024 Escalade? Mm-hmm. Which one's going to get you to Florida more comfortably, right? So I can't help but think that you can't lump them together because, like Dr. Jensen, she's using a reputable company like ours that is backed in science and guaranteed.
Yeah,
so
you do need to know
high
where
quality
you're getting
raw
your
materials.
Product from, for sure. Yeah.
Absolutely. And the thing that we've said before, and again, you're always going to get the real version of me. And these are things that would not have come out of my mouth in television because I would have been blocked to do so. But Kristen just said, yes, the studies are out there. Do they make the headlines? Do they grab the headlines? No, the government blocks it. FDA, big pharma. Don't talk about that because it's going to take money. Well, the money's not here to fund some of that. Right. That's why. And that's the unfortunate side. We have questions and comments coming in.
A couple comments. Marilyn asked, do you know Dr. Simon Yu?
Yes.
Yes.
Dr. Simon Yu.
Excellent provider.
Is from here?
In St. Louis, yes.
And anybody else?
That was the only question.
Okay, so if you have a question and comment, I'm going to take a quick break, and I want to get into the supplement side of it all. We're going to do that for you. Visiting with Dr. Sarah Jensen. Let's go ahead and put them up on the screen. I've got more people I met, by the way, over the weekend that are coming to her. First of all, that is slim.org that Kristen founded, 314-378-8295. And then the locations to find Dr. Sarah Jensen with Regional Dermatology. One is in Festus and one in Chesterfield. And there are phone numbers for both. Seek those out. There you go. Regional Dermatology West on Conway Road. That's where Jim and I went. And I got a funny story to tell you, by the way, when we come back. Let's be real as can be. Regional Dermatology South in Festus. I'm going to make Sarah laugh when we return. Stay tuned. Everyone knows about Jody's balls, and why is that?
I have the best ball. Oh my God.
Oh, wait. And I just mentioned that Labor Day weekend, if you can believe it, is next weekend. And any of you that have ever had pools know that that's usually when, well, it's more so not personal pools because we have a tendency to keep ours open a little bit longer, but that's when all those public pools close and all of the ones that you go to outside of your own backyard. So when they close, hopefully you can find a friend or a family member that still has their open because we still have some hot days ahead. Just Pools is one of our wonderful sponsors. We love Madonna and her team, and she told us that they now have 50% off all of those toys that I was telling you, those flotation devices, the noodles, all of that, until they last, of course. 50% off, and then 10% off the chemicals. They also are doing the winterizing kits. Those are 10% off right now as well. They're located on the West Outer Road in Arnold. Just Pools, the pool and spa specialist. Go get your chemicals. I suggest packing up on everything you need for next year so you're not scrambling to get all of that. And by the way, that's when you always pay higher, is when you first open the pool. So do what you need right now when you've got those discounts. 636-464-7110. Thank you, Madonna. All right, I promise when we come back to make her laugh, first of all, Dr. Sarah Jensen with Regional Dermatology, Kristen Brokaw with Slim. So the first time my husband ever had a chance to meet her, and he hasn't actually been, I don't know if he's ever been a dermatologist, but we went in, your staff was so awesome, and they're like, okay, you can just strip down to your underwear, your shorts, and he's like, okay. And then he looked at the paper. He's like, what do I do with this? And he sits down and he's sitting there. And then in comes Dr. Jensen, and he turned into a little boy. He was like this. Hi, nice to meet you. And he goes, this is a friend of Monica's and a partner of Monica's. And the first time I meet her, I'm sitting there in my underwear.
That's true. That's true.
He's like, great. And then we went over and had drinks. And I said, yeah it's backwards in life.
That's very true. I didn't think about that.
So there you go. There's your humor for the day. But he said you were incredible.
Well,
so pass
you
that
two
along.
were as well. My daughters and my son, they all were there. And rare that they all get together, these days.
Yes.
And they were all around just to meet, and they really enjoyed it.
We had such a good time. Her family is amazing. And I told her I had a big hug waiting for her because she said that it was a wake-up call because both of your daughters starting college, one in California, one in
Indiana.
Indiana.
Yeah.
I almost said Iowa. Indiana. Yeah. So you're back home, and it almost feels like empty nest. It's not completely. Yeah. You've got one left.
I'm calling it like we have satellite nests. We're just like extending our nests a little bit further, but it is a quiet house. Yes. There's been a few tears.
Well, give a shout out to your daughters. Actually, to all of your kids.
Yeah.
The wonderful family for sure. So welcome back. We're talking about what I feel is one of the most important topics that we need to continue to dig into, and that is more and more traditional medicine doctors, and I have a lot of you that are friends of mine that have opened your mind and opened your practice more to what we're discussing today, and that is functional integrative medicine. We are looking at, I love that, a conventional medicine slide versus functional medicine. So we look on the left side, symptoms-based treatment, doctor-centered. On the right, treats underlying root. And that's what we're saying. It is, what is the cause of this? That's more patient-centered. All receiving the same treatment, the symptoms-based diagnosis on the conventional medicine side. customized holistic approach in functional medicine, individual biochemical factors, and then disease-oriented, specialized for particular disease on the conventional medicine side. And then on the functional medicine side, it's health-oriented, treating the whole body and prevention. It's not cookie cutter. It's getting down to it all and saying, all right, what is the cause of this? And not dismissing, by the way, Christian, I'm sure, and Dr. Jensen, that you've seen a lot of that, of doctors that have just dismissed, even though people say over and over and over again, there's still something wrong with me. You know your body better than anybody does, right? I'm sure that you've done that in 17 years a lot.
Yes, and really I want to point out with the functional medicine slide you just showed, functional medicine is systems biology. Mm-hmm. It's 100% based in science. It's everything providers learned. The period at the end of the sentence that they learned was the medication. In functional medicine, the period at the end of the sentence is, okay, now let's start digging, right? And so I just wanted to it's been around for 40 plus years. This is nothing new.
Well, and what Dr. Jensen said, if you're just tuning in about 10, 15 minutes ago, when I first got introduced to acupuncture, it was the centuries-long practice that had been around. And I actually did this, 25 years ago when I first did this particular topic. And he said, Monica, you're not going to get any doctors right now in the St. Louis area they're going to agree with you and agree to go on. And I said, why? And he goes, because they're looking at this as kind of a joke. He's like, I hate to say that, but it's true. He said, but let me tell you something. What I have to know in Chinese medicine is everything that they know and then everything we know. He's like, all the traditional side and then all the meridian points. Mm-hmm. And I said, well, then that should get mad respect. And he said, you would think so, wouldn't you?
Right. I mean, I send patients to the acupuncturist for like nerve pain from, post-herpetic neuralgia when they have like a shingles type pain.
Mm-hmm.
And, really the pain medicines that we use really just mask the pain, make people sleepy, make people groggy. And there's so many reactions to them. And then they're addictive. Yep. But the acupuncture makes so much sense to me for so many different things.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
We also mentioned, again, vitamins and supplements. I do want to stress this, though. There are some people that will watch some late night thing and they've got some supplements on TV. They don't even know anything behind it. And they're like, oh, I'll take that because it's marketed well, it's branded well. We mentioned earlier, Kristen, the importance of where you're getting this from.
Right. Because a raw material is not a raw material is not a raw material, just like I said about the car. It's not just, a car. So vitamin C, let's just pick on that for a second. Vitamin C can be very, have what's called an ORAC value, oxygen radical absorbance capacity. It's the whole reason you take vitamin C is for that antioxidant potential. And it can have high antioxidant potential or it can be very low, but both are vitamin C. So it's a matter of where you're getting it from. We're sourcing things out of, like, say, Europe. And you're going to pay more of a premium for one that's got that high antioxidant capacity to actually do what it says it's going to do.
Well, and Kristen, you just brought up a point that I didn't even think of, but my mind always goes like this all over the place of, oh, hey, that's important. Supplements, vitamins, the cost factor on them. And this is for all of you that are watching. People get so confused and they're like, I don't know which one to pick. This one says $15. This one says $65. How is this one any better? Is it just branding? Is it better for me? So what would you tell them from some of the staples that we take at home? First of all, do we need a multivitamin and vitamin D, magnesium, vitamin C? You're the expert on this.
Well, I'll go through what I think is a great foundational, I call it the magic 5.
Okay.
All right. So I agree, a multivitamin. So where do you get vitamins and minerals in your food? Mm-hmm. Where would you get those? Do you know?
Well, fruits or vegetables.
Fruits or vegetables,
yeah,
exactly.
And the
how many
dark
are we
green
eating?
leaf vegetables, right?
Exactly.
Phytonutrients.
Fruits are beautiful word. So fruits and vegetables. How many fruits and vegetables are people eating? Not
5
very
servings,
many. How
if
many
you're
fruits and
supposed to?
vegetables are they eating that are grown in soil?
Yes.
That actually has minerals in it.
Right.
Right? Hardly anyone. So having a high quality multivitamin that is high and going to exceed the RDA. I'm going to tell you that right now. That's what you want. And so I think that's a staple because you're not getting it in your diet. If you were getting it in your diet, you wouldn't need it. So that's number one, multivitamin. A probiotic. I mean, everybody's kind of familiar now with like gut health and, the microbiome. That word might even be a little more, I don't know. I live in a bubble, so I think everybody talks about the microbiome on Saturday, but Anyway, so the microbiome, adding good bacteria back into your gut because we need to eat live food. Live food is full of bacteria, good bacteria, right? So that would be number 2. Fish oil. Unless you're eating, say, salmon 3 times a week or really fatty cuts of fish with that high omega-3, then I would say you would want to supplement with a fish oil, anywhere between 1 and 4 grams a day, depending on, say, if you have more of a cardiovascular risk or a lot of inflammation, I would go higher.
Okay.
So that's 3. Vitamin D. That is almost that's a non-negotiable. I'm sure you, Dr. Jensen, recommend get out in the sun, right? That's the gold standard, right?
But how many international units? This is the big thing, because you have people go, I think we're supposed to have 5,000 IU, and then you come back and people have their labs done and tests done, and they're like, that's not enough for you. What would you tell them to take daily?
I would say, well, make sure it's D3, not the prescription that for 50,000 like you're getting from your provider potentially. Not this provider, but standard providers. That's vitamin D2, which is way less bioavailable. So I'd make sure it's D3.
Okay.
5,000 is actually can give you an optimal level.
Okay.
But a lot of providers say, 1,000, 2,000. And again, we're kind of basing that on that minimum required need to maybe prevent something like scurvy.
Okay.
Or I'm sorry, rickets. And so just know that. So 5,000 could be what you need, but you test.
Yes,
and that's
to
how
see
a
if you're
provider,
extremely low.
right? So you get your vitamin D levels tested, and you maybe during the winter you need 10,000. I mean, hopefully you're still getting out in the sun to some degree. So,
and then number 5,
magnesium.
Okay.
You said it. I think you said that earlier. But magnesium, Mother Nature's muscle relaxer. It's going to be good for your brain, your bowels, your every
Muscles, right.
exactly every cell in the body needs it. It's good for neurotransmitter health. So I think magnesium it's just an underrated. If you have tight muscles, you need to be taking it. If you can't turn your brain off at night, you need to be taking it. It's just the good quality magnesium, like a chelated magnesium is going to be ideal.
And that's key. So we mentioned earlier, Kristen, that with Slim, you're also affiliated with Orthomolecular.
Yes.
So tell me more about that.
So again, like I said earlier, I was in that car accident, and the provider that I went to see said, I'm going to use supplements on you. Also did some acupuncture. He was a functional medicine provider, asked me about my diet, and I thought, this is like changed my life overnight, changed my life. So I said, well, I want to go, this wall of supplements he had. I thought, this is really helping me. Do they have sales reps? And I went in, and I couldn't be more passionate about it. So that is Orthomolecular is 35 years old, high quality raw materials. They're formulating for efficacy, not just marketing. It's an excellent privately owned company.
And we're going through and looking at some of these for you. So hopefully we have Ashlyn dropping in a comment for you about that and a link for that. Looking at some of these. How long has this company been around, Kristen?
This is the 35th year.
35 years. Okay, how much magnesium is recommended daily? Kathleen's asking.
So that depends on the type that you're going to take, and really you go till bowel tolerance. So I personally can take upwards of 500 milligrams a day, and I do not have loose stool, for everyone out there who is wondering. So you really go until your bowel, and now if you're going to choose a cheap form like a magnesium oxide, you're going to have diarrhea quickly without getting to that high amount. That's not good. So in other words, you want to take a higher amount so that you don't have diarrhea, and you want to create circulating levels of magnesium in your body.
Okay, let me pause here, and we'll come back with Dr. Jensen in just a second. Talking again about functional integrative medicine, which is something I literally could probably do a marathon 24-hour show. Maybe I'll do that one day, and we'll raise money for some charity. We'll just stay on, and we'll have doctor after doctor, and I'll be exhausted, and I'll be like, all right, if we change lives, that's what I'm here for. Marilyn said my boss is beating the odds with the scleroderma. Thank God for this. The mass majority of Americans are unhealthy with what we put in our daily bodies and little or no movement. So sad. It is, because there's so much out there that people are never told about, or they're told this doesn't work for you, when in fact that's the path that they wish they would have been able to take.
Right. And scleroderma is a very disabling disease. It can be. So it's good to know that someone's doing well, because there's not a lot of options out there.
Right. Crystal said vets do the same thing. They laugh when I mention anything holistic with my dog. I had the same thing happen to me. My dog had had grand mal seizures at the age of 2. I was introduced to a vet that did acupuncture and gave her Chinese herbs, and she never had one again, and she lived to 16.
Right.
So, I mean, all these things are out there. When we talked earlier about research. But when they found I got his liver enzymes down by 85% in 1 month by giving milk thistle, root powders, etc., when they wanted to do a liver biopsy, they changed their tune, wrote down all the notes of what I gave them. Well, that gave me a chill that they opened their mind to you. The problem is they just don't know. Only stick with what they learned in school. We just said that earlier, right? There's where the chills come from. It's more of these things, again, that can help change lives. So for you in dermatology, what would you say? You have more questions? Okay, hold on one second. What would you say moving forward that you're most excited about in your practice alone, where you see this has to be moving forward the gold standard of my traditional background and then all of the collaborations and partnerships I'm making in functional?
I think like you talked about, I think a lot of it starts at the gut level, right? So having a healthy gut. All my family uses the orthobiotics. They use the probiotics with orthomolecular. And also just keeping a healthy diet. It can't all just be supplements, right? But and exercise is huge. I think exercise has to be just part of anyone's regimen. So I think those things are basic for me. I think gut health, exercise, and nutrition are key.
You mentioned probiotics earlier. Now, a lot of people, again, it's all from a branding standpoint. We can think about the commercials that are done of eat yogurt, okay? Prebiotics and probiotics. First of all, can you differentiate between the two of those? And then if someone is eating like cultured enzymes, et cetera, do they need to take supplements on top of that?
Well, it depends on whose yogurt they're eating. Are they making it in their kitchen? Then that's probably going to be excellent, right? Like they used to do. If this is Dannon, that is from, I don't know, strawberry flavored with lots of sugar, high fructose, whatever in there. No. Probiotics are sprinkles, and sometimes you need floods, right?
Interesting. And then again, pre versus pro.
I'm sorry. What I meant to say is yogurt is like sprinkles. Yes. And sometimes you need floods, meaning you might have to go out and get one that has a lot more colonizing forming units in it.
Again, can you break down the difference? Because people are confused by prebiotics and probiotics.
There's pre, pro, and post.
And post.
There's so a prebiotic, post. Right? A prebiotic is something that's going to act like fertilizer.
Okay.
Fertilizer so this is going to be even things like your phytonutrients that you mentioned even earlier. I was impressed that you knew that word, but.
Hey, I've been around 26 years
in health. So those are things that are going to, like skins of things, fibers. Fibers are prebiotics. So they're going to essentially like fertilize your bacteria. We all have bacteria in our gut, whether you like it or not. It's called commensal. A probiotics adding more of those commensal, I call those God-given bacteria that you have in your gut. And a postbiotic, they're finding it's a dead bacteria that they're finding actually has some benefit to being dead and kind of changing the,
Well, don't you think that a lot of people, and I hate to do this while you're eating breakfast, but let's just be real, it's true, and you've got to learn to understand that these things exist. The amount of parasites that someone has inside their body would probably shock them.
Right. And my father had a terrible bout with like C. diff, that bacteria that you get in the gut when you've taken too many antibiotics, just because of pneumonias or issues, and hospitalized for it, multiple different therapies, and it was just it's disabling, So the probiotics are just essential, I think, and I think there definitely is a genetic component. I even got it in medical school, and it just with a few days of antibiotics. So I think there definitely is a component. Whatever you can add back to prevent that would be ideal.
Let me ask this: why do you think there is such pushback in traditional medicine? What are you scared of? Not you, all of you that aren't open-minded to this.
I don't know if it's the amount of money, time, years spent in medicine. We just kind of get beaten down in medicine. I think introducing different foreign ideas, I don't understand it, but I see it in my Facebook groups with doctors. You start to mention essential oils, you start to mention functional medicine, and they just go, it's discouraging to me because I do see it on the alternative medicine side. I hear what sometimes naturopath or activist might say about, and I don't blame them because we do seem kind of on our pedestal, right? And we could be knocked down a few. I think that What I noticed is during the pandemic and afterwards, I saw patients kind of diverge, right? There are people who, I don't think that we did very well in allopathic medicine, kind of with the vaccine introduction and masking. There was such a back and forth from the CDC about, oh, you can wear a bandana, you don't have to, or what have you. And I just saw patients kind of starting to question us even more than they might have in the past. And so I see that patients are going, even in my southern office, which you wouldn't think maybe rural offices might, rural patients might be seeking out this kind of treatments, like with infrared technology or the full body cryotherapy. But I have, semi truck drivers who are doing that for their, muscle health and for the, just overall relaxation. People want something different, and if you don't meet them where they are, you're kind of losing the battle. You're losing the game,
You just brought up a really good point, and that is from 2020 to now, and I can't believe we're almost talking 5 years since what we all know happened back in 2020, but so many people were home. And I'm going to say the positive side of this from being in the health field is that you were on this more. You actually saw more coming at you. The really intelligent businesses that wanted to grab your attention were all over TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, you name it, of look at these things. And it was suddenly opening your mind and making you think, oh, well, I need to look into this. More so than ever, you were glued to this, whether it was a good thing or a bad thing. But then you started to question what your doctors were telling you. You were questioning whether, yes, you needed to take care of your body first and foremost, and healthier people were, if they were getting it, right? This is the aha moment, and what I was so frustrated about, it was you're forcing people to wear masks, bandanas, whatever. Is it working? Okay, double mask, triple mask. And then it was forcing people to get vaccines. And no one ever wanted to talk about taking care of your body. That's what ticked me off, right? Kristen and I are just like, amen, sister.
Yes, yes.
Right.
Frustration,
Yes.
right? It's really back to integrative medicine, the root of it. I'm going to take a quick break. We've got questions coming in. We'll get to those as well. If you have anything or comments, by the way, that you want to say about this, if you've been frustrated, it's time for you to find a new doctor. And this is why we love her so much, because yes, this is a traditional medicine doctor who's saying, nope, I need to see this beautiful marriage between the two. It's definitely needed, and that's what you need to find. We'll have more with Dr. Jensen and Kristen Brokaw when we return.
This is my wonderful role model, one of my best friends.
She's, oh my gosh, you got a long life. You could probably live to be 130 and stuff. And I said, oh God, I hope not.
It's getting hot in here. Don't take off all your clothes.
I'm not going to take off my clothes. On the radio tape, going to
Kansas City, Kansas City, here I come. We're going to spank, we're going to speak. We're not going to spank anybody. We're going to speak about knowing your value. And then I'm going to
I'm going to spank them.
if you don't know your value and you don't grab hold of how important you are, I'm going to spank you. Folks, you never know what you're going to get with her.
All right, a lot of you say you want more of her. Mom and Mon, we're calling it senior moments, and you really never know what you're going to get with that woman. Dr. Jensen, I met her mother, and I can't wait to put the two of them together. We'll just sit there and laugh the entire time. We need more of that, by the way. You need laughter. That's the best medicine, for sure. Dr. Sarah Jensen with Regional Dermatology, Kristen Brokaw with SLIM, again, St. Louis Institute of Integrative Medicine. We're also talking, though, about orthomolecular. It's a Webster Groves pharmacy, and they carry it in the office, again, with Regional Dermatology. So we talked earlier about magnesium. Somebody wanted to know about powder or pill form. Is that right? Okay. What's better?
As long as it's a good quality raw material, it doesn't matter.
Okay. Kathleen said, I find so many providers find the cure to symptoms is to prescribe a drug rather than trying to get to the root cause. My daughter in Phoenix goes to a non-traditional medicine physician who probes into her history until a root cause is identified rather than, quote, take this drug, it will fix the symptoms.
Right, I know. But like I said, those visits that were kind of allotted to kind of stay in business and keep going and seeing patients, there's just not that time. You'll see a lot of doctors who have gone kind of the functional medicine or alternative also have gone more direct pay. Like we saw Dr. Becky Lynn, and while she isn't necessarily alternative, she has the time to spend, with the patient. So that's and I've seen it too when I take my daughters in, and there's a medicine for this and medicine for that, and so you always want to question and really research it more,
right. Now that is a topic I want to go deeper into in a future show. There are people then they're going to look at that and say, yes, I would want that type of a doctor who takes longer with me, but I don't know if I can afford. I'm told I have to have insurance. Now I have to direct pay. Where's the money going to come from? That's where they get frustrated, right?
It's very hard.
Yes.
I will say my deductible and most of my patients are so high now that we see the bills for all the visits anyway. So really it's kind of a wash. A lot of the doctors who do that too. While I take insurance, a lot of those who don't, you could still submit it to your insurance company and see if they will pay. But I find that the deductibles these days are so high anyways.
They absolutely are.
Right.
Jenny, who went to you and brought her daughter in, said, we had this discussion with Molly, Dr. Jensen's nurse practitioner, so enlightening. So they must have been talking about this in the office.
Right.
Marilyn said, I love acupuncture. Anybody else that I missed, Hannah? I'm trying to scroll through real quick.
Also, to touch on magnesium, though, that's a tough subject. There are so many different versions of magnesium, and there is a podcast that I like to follow. It's called The Drive with Peter Attia. He's kind of this kind of medicine 2.0 or 3.0. They're very lengthy, but there was one of the podcasts on magnesium was fascinating. He was on 4 different types of magnesium, and he said we're so low in our diets these days.
Absolutely. Someone just said, I am so thankful for this program. I don't know if he's still on, but Generald Wilson, who you all need to see perform the national anthem. Generald Wilson. Are you on right now? If so, we need to get you on the show, sir. He is the Marine. If you've ever seen him perform at these professional stadiums, trust me, just Google the man. It's Generald. I think it's pronounced Generald Wilson. He's fantastic. So hello, sir, and thank you for your service, by the way. Let's do this before we wrap up, and then we've got so many more that we can really dig into. But we talked about, again, eating fermented, gut health, probiotics, all the different top 5. So again, to recap that, it is a multivitamin. We talked about magnesium. You talked about using a probiotic, vitamin D3. Not again. That was a wake up call. What's the 5th one?
Fish oil.
Fish oil. Yes, fish oil. However, I would love to eat Chilean sea bass every day and salmon.
Right.
Right?
Yes.
I know it gets expensive, but if you're not doing that right, it's important. But you also talked about when taking antibiotics, consider a higher strength of probiotics and try to avoid antibiotics as much as possible. Talk a little bit about that.
I do. Like I said, my father had C. difficile. I did as a medical student, and it's tough. You want to avoid that as much as you can. So I really don't prescribe a lot of antibiotics. I don't use them in acne as much as I used to. And you enlightened me because I usually just take the orthobiotic, but you told me there's even a
higher up. So sometimes the amount of colonizing forming units, which is how probiotics are measured, they're measured in that CFU. Sometimes you need to throw, like I said, sometimes you need floods, and so sometimes you need a high dose, and you kind of go into.
You carry one, don't you?
We do, yes.
Right. So we carry it at our office. So I really believe you have to know what supplement you're using and who's behind it. And she's taught me so much about it, and you've taught me even about fiber, about the psyllium husk, that they took those out of the product because they were contaminated, right?
Yeah, there was a big issue with psyllium husk over the last year and a half. So
throughout.
Be careful with that one.
But they'll just take that product off the market completely, and I really respected a company that would do that. So we carry the fish oil for patients who are on Accutane for acne. We carry the probiotics for people who do go on antibiotics. We're going to carry the N-acetylcysteine for people who are like pickers or itchy skin. There's just a lot of options. And so I'll tell them, you can just pick that up on the way out just to make it easy, and then I know what they're getting, and I know it's good quality.
Yeah, there it is right there on the screen. So if you're looking like, well, where can I get all this? You can get it through Sarah with Regional Dermatology. You can look into, again, Slim, which we dropped the links for you, as well as Ortho Molecular, the Webster Groves Pharmacy. I was driving home yesterday, and I was reading a lot of these things to Jim, and I said, oh, look, you're supposed to get more fiber than I am. 25 grams in women and 35 grams in men.
And that's tough to get in a typical diet. That is very hard to get. If you ever really tally up what you're getting, it's pretty difficult.
Which again, Kristen, you mentioned this earlier, and I think this is an important thing for us to say before we wrap up. Eating whole foods is key. When we talk about supplement, think about what the word is. Supplementation to the way you're supposed to eat, not eat supplements all day long.
Right.
Agreed.
And I think that's the aha moment for a lot of people. They start going, oh, well, I'll just supplement and I won't actually eat whole foods. No one ever said that to you. No one ever that you should trust in the health field ever said to dismiss eating. Back to the roots, right? So if you're faith-based, it's what God intended for you. Let's go back to the soil. Let's get out of the ground, the fruits, the vegetables, the root vegetables. Again, lean proteins. Or if you're vegan, then you have to find your protein sources. But it's all of that. And if you're not getting enough protein, you're not getting enough fiber, healthy fats, then that's when you start supplement. We got a question? Okay, so hold on. Let me pull it up. Again, if you have questions or comments, go ahead and drop them in for me. Doug Allison, hello. Nice to see you watching. I don't see it. Oh, here it is. Is the fish, it just popped up. Is the fish oil safe for my 15-year-old, good question, Jenny, that Molly has on a prescription cream and antibiotic for her acne?
Yeah, we use it for patients who are on Accutane all the time, so I couldn't see why not. Yeah.
Okay. What are your thoughts on Juice Plus? Somebody just asked.
I think Juice Plus is great. I can't say that I know too much about them, but that's a fruits and vegetable type that they've condensed into a supplement. I think Juice Plus has good data behind it.
Debbie just said, I take Now brand calcium plus magnesium with D3 and zinc. Also D3 5000 IU and Garden of Life vitamins. What are your thoughts on all those?
Yeah, those are great retail brands. I think if you're going to choose a retail brand, those are very nice.
For a retail site, which I kind of went into earlier, which is where people get frustrated and they don't know, what am I supposed to be picking? It's making sure that the grade of what you're using you can trust. That's trustworthy.
Right, because something like ortho, we're going to be carried at a provider's office or in a pharmacy. That's not something that you can just go direct to consumer. So.
And those that you are carrying, is that all out of pocket? Excuse me.
Yeah, they're not really covered by insurance,
Yeah.
unfortunately. Right. Yeah.
Yeah, someday.
Yeah.
That would be great. Yeah.
I'm putting it out there. Let's manifest it. Because hello, all these things that are covered by insurance, and we have all these other things. I know how many of you get frustrated of one day, right? And I'm just going to tell you, I've been in broadcasting for 30 years. So I'm talking about things I talked about 30 years ago. And here we are, and it's still not covered.
Right.
But we have to have hope.
Yeah, well,
that
my
someday.
mother, she's determined she'll use her insurance for everything, and she's getting her acupuncture covered. So yeah,
She is?
Yeah, she
Go,
is.
Mama.
She knows.
Look at her. We both just dropped. How is she doing that?
Yeah, we'll have to bring her on the show.
Hello, get on the phone with me. I
Yes.
need that. Yeah, because I would be going to an acupuncture every single day. Do I have another one, Hannah? No? We're good? Okay. If any of you are watching and you just jumped on late, be sure to drop in comments because Dr. Jensen is fantastic on this. She will always come in and answer your questions afterwards, as will I. Debbie said also several others, costly, but I feel two of the best brands, which she was just saying with regards to Now. But again, I want you to look into that. You are fantastic, as she said you would be. She said
Thank you.
She said she had another level of energy. She's matching me, which is hard to do.
I turned my 11 down to a 2 today just for you. So
Don't do that. Bring it, girl. Bring it. What time do you wake up in the morning?
5.
5. Yep. See, people that really love living life are up very early. What time do you go to bed?
Oh,
that-
last night I
that-
was in bed at 7, but that's not normal. I was extremely tired. So I try to go to bed well before 10, but I try to.
So yeah, again, the importance. Let's just give you all the things that you've heard over and over and over again. But sometimes it just has to get drilled into your brain, and it becomes habitual. Sleep is important. Hydration is important. Eating healthy is important, and movement. All right, mental, physical, spiritual, the triangle of life that I'm constantly talking about. So important for you to have balance. And I want to thank Marilyn, by the way. Instead of reading from 100 Days to Freedom, we're going to read from Love the Life You Have, 100 Ways to Embrace God's Goodness. We'll do that when we return.
The world needs to be more positive. Yep. You know, the world, and I'm spreading positivity with my air fresheners. So,
you and I both,
yes.
Sir. Sadly, I wasn't aware of the Monica Adams show until recently, and was I missing out?
I'm definitely going to turn this on in the mornings on our TV.
She's helping people to understand their value. She's helping women to transform their lives. from the minute that we walked in. I felt just really comfortable and at home here.
You are always a ray of sunshine and positivity.
Thank you for what you do. I love this whole thing that you're doing.
It's good news. It's great news. It's uplifting and empowering.
But you were engaged, and I love that. So thank you so much.
And right there, you just saw it at the end. Friendship and having a drink in moderation. It's all about the balance of life, right? Enjoying some time together. We do Wet Your Whistle Wednesday, by the way, and we won't be back with Chuck with Defiance Ridge Vineyards for a couple of weeks. He's enjoying the other thing that's important, and that is vacation or holidays if you are in another country. Some of them get 3 months. I mean, come on. If we can't learn from the fact that this country needs to be paying attention to what other countries are doing, that's truly an aha moment. So I'm going to let my guest choose a number in the 100 ways to embrace God's goodness. Kristen, give me a number between 1 and 100.
55.
Oh, where did that come from?
I don't know.
I didn't know if it had significance to you. 55. We read number 13 the other day. We want to thank our dedicated viewer, Marilyn Westenberger, for giving us this wonderful book. This one, by the way, is illustrated by Nathalie. Oh my gosh, I'm not even going to try to pronounce this name. Never mind. I don't even know why I went there because I'm not going to do the person's name justice. Love the life you have. 100 ways to embrace God's goodness. This is 55. Sing a new song. He who sings frightens away his ills. Oh my gosh, this is hilarious. We're talking about health. This is perfect. In 1938, British missionary Gladys found herself in the middle of a crisis while she was serving in China. She was caring for 100 orphans when the region was invaded by communist Japanese forces. Well, Gladys and the children were forced to flee on foot through the mountains. Their goal was to find safety more than 250 miles away. On the 12th day of walking, they arrived at the Yellow River, but they couldn't cross. The Chinese army had hidden the boats to keep them from getting into the hands of the Japanese. Gladys was tired, was worn, and at a loss about what to do. The children asked, well, why don't we cross? Gladys answered, there are no boats. Then one of the children said, God can do anything. Let's ask him to get us across. So they knelt, they prayed, and they sang. A Chinese soldier was nearby, and he heard their singing. He brought a boat so they could cross safely and continue their journey. Maybe there's something you desperately want or need. Maybe you've prayed about it, but still, you are no nearer to what you want or need. Perhaps you find discontent welling up inside you as your faith dwindles. Like Gladys on the riverbank, you're at a loss about what do you do? Well, think of a song that you find uplifting, a song of gratitude and praise. If you don't know one, hey, make one up. You see, research shows that music affects your mood. Singing's been shown to improve mental health and well-being. If you don't believe me, try it. Watch how happy you get when you think of a song that brings back an incredible memory. You start to dance a little bit, your hips start moving. A grateful heart, fueled by your choice to be thankful for all God has given you, can also improve mental health and well-being. Singing and giving thanks will naturally lift your spirit and make the wait for what you want or need so much more enjoyable. And I don't know if you can see this little singing bird. You probably can't. But when we hear them singing, yeah, there you go. When you hear them singing, when you walk out and the weather is just absolutely beautiful, you hear them more and more, the more calm and centered you are. It's the first thing that makes you smile, trust me, is the birds singing, right? I think so. A comment? All right, let's see. Before we wrap up, and we want to thank again, we'll put it up on the screen while I'm looking at the comments, Dr. Sarah Jensen and where you can find her with Regional Dermatology. 2 locations, again, one in Chesterfield and the other in Festus. There you go, and there are their hours for both the West and the South offices, so seek them out. And again, make sure that you're taking care of you and your family. Let's go back. Monica, I got a call from my brother and sister-in-law that said I was not consistently sending them the link for your show. I had no idea they looked forward to that daily. Well, thank you. Sharing is so important. We want you to do that. Regionaldermatology.com is the website that I want you to go to find out more and to get an appointment set up for yourself. As we mentioned, if you've been trying to get into a dermatologist and you haven't been able to, she can get you in, and she's gotten a lot of you in. Then there's the website for Kristen Brokaw's, where she founded SLIM, SLIIM.org, St. Louis. Institute for Integrative Medicine. And then there's the phone number for you as well. Yes, Sally, I can't wait for our time together as well. She just said wine in moderation and unlimited laughter and love with best friends. Some of the best medicine you can possibly have. Any other comments that I missed, Hannah? No? Okay, perfect. So if anybody has questions or comments after we wrap up the show, please drop them in for us. Kristen, you are welcome back on the show anytime you would like. I'd love to talk with you about a lot of collaboration ideas we can do, because everything that you're talking about is 150% aligned with this mission. So
Awesome.
thank you. It's been a pleasure meeting you.
You are wonderful.
Well, thank you. You're a sweetheart. Thank you. And always good to see you. As soon as the cameras go off, your hug is waiting for you. Dr. Sarah Jensen, Kristen Brokaw, and each and every one of you. Now it's time for you to take this show and just flood and saturate social media. Share, 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 so people understand these are the things we need to talk more about. And I can tell you that this is the whole traditional versus integrative or functional medicine will continue in series after series, because it's what we need to be discussing. And for more of you physicians, if we can get it in your hands to open your mind, your spirit, to say, all right, fine, I'm going to open my mind to this. That's the marriage we've been looking for. Everybody, thank you so much. And remember what I always tell you. Go out, enjoy, take care of yourself with the heat that we have ahead. Check on your elderly, check on the kids, check on the pets. Anybody with respiratory illnesses, do not stay out in the heat very long. That's how you really take care of each other, which again is all about being kind. And that's what we ask you to do. God bless you all.